Good afternoon, Nerds on Site community. We're pleased that you've joined us today. This is our first episode of NerdCast, and we'd love to get to know you, and we would love for you to get to know us. So our goal is to engage you and for you to really see who we are and to get into Nerds on Site and our philosophies. We've got a great panel for you today. We have some pretty big player nerds and co-founders with us. Guys, I'd like for you to introduce yourselves, a little bit about yourselves, starting with Arthur.
Hey, well, I get to go first every week, eh? All right, so I'm thirsty for going first. So I'm Arthur. I work with the DNS Thingy team, and also take care of some stuff and Nerds on Site. I'm not entirely sure how to introduce myself, but anyway, I'm a nerd and a hacker and a developer. So there you go.
Hi, Arthur. Thanks for joining us. Brad, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I take care of the Managed by Nerds team, which is managed services for Nerds on Site. I'm also the father of 4 children, 3 boys and 1 princess. So my wife has a very busy schedule, and I work hard to support her. And I'm humbled to be with Nerds on Site, surrounding myself with some incredible talent, and I get to be involved with those challenges every day. So my wife has a very busy schedule, and I work hard to support her. And I'm humbled to be with Nerds on Site, surrounding myself with some incredible talent, and I get to be involved with those challenges every day. So my wife has a very busy schedule, and I work hard to support her. And I'm humbled to be with.
That's a really important message that some artificial intelligence decided to repeat, Brad.
I see that.
All right. So, Brad, I didn't know you had 4 kids.
Not a lot of people do.
No. Yeah. Good for you. David, you are somewhere interesting. Tell us about where you are and a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thank you, Becky. You didn't introduce yourself, by the way, so I'm first going to introduce the wonderful, the one and only producer, Miss Becky. We're so glad that you're doing this each week, Becky. Hi, guys. I'm David, co-founder with Nerds on Site, and I am in Madrid, of all places, this entire week. Hewlett Packard Enterprise kindly invited me to speak to an audience here from the position of a security architect, and so we're having lots of fun here. It's a great show. If you've never been to one of their annual shows, actually they have 2 of them a year. It's called Discover, Hewlett Packard Enterprise Discover. They have one in Europe for the EMEA region. I think that stands for Europe. I have no idea what MEA stands for. And then they have an Americas one in Vegas that's usually in May. So May and November are their 2 big conventions. And so we'll be going to those for the foreseeable future. So very, very glad to be here. Thanks, guys.
Good. Thank you, David. Francois, thank you for joining us. We're so glad that you're with us today. Looking forward to some great discussion. Francois hails from South Africa. So a great place, a great Nerds on Site team in South Africa. And Francois is the director of that. Can you tell us a little, can you introduce yourself a little bit to our public, Francois? Yes.
Seem to have a bit of a lag. Thank you very much, Becky. Yes, South Africa. We're nerds in Pretoria, South Africa. Just heard myself saying we had a lag.
Thanks,
That confirms
Francois.
the lag.
Yes.
So I'm just going to continue without my earphones because I hear myself speaking. But we have a population of 57 million people in South Africa, and in the African 1.2 million 1.2 billion people population. So lots of opportunity for IT, and we really enjoy the technology world, which is forever expanding on the African continent.
Great, thanks. We're going to move back. We had Blair join us a few minutes ago. Thank you so much for coming, Blair. What we're doing is introducing ourselves, a little bit about yourself and where you're from.
Yep, thanks for having me. I'm based out of London, Ontario, Canada, and I've been a nerd since 1996.
Wow, great. Thanks, Blair. Jumping back to John. John is one of our co-founders. Go ahead, John.
Hey, everybody. Yes, I am one of the co-founders along with David. Started in 1995. And I'm right now in London, Ontario, about 20 feet from you, and maybe 12 and a half feet. Yeah, I think that's the most exciting thing I could think to share.
Okay, yes, thank you. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Looking forward to some great talks. Again, like I mentioned before, we want you to get to know our team. We want you to see that we're real people with real families and lives. We're a company that's very family focused and family oriented. So let's get to know some of our nerds better. So I've implemented a nerd spotlight segment, and today I've chosen to spotlight John Harbarenko, our co-founder. So we'd like to, let's get to know John a bit. John, tell us a little bit about your family, about your hobbies, about who is John really?
Yes, I have a family and I have hobbies. Well, it's the first thing we want to establish. So, yes, I have a lovely wife of 20 some odd years, right? That's close enough. 22, something like that.
That's how young she is? Wow.
Yeah, right. Sorry. Yeah. We've been married for that long, right? So we have 3 lovely children. We have 19-year-old twins, Jake and Sophie, boy, girl, not identical. Number one question when they were born, even though they were in pink and blue and blonde and black hair and, with boy and girl names. People still want to know if they were identical. They're not identical. And we have another little guy, Adam, who's 8. And so there's a good spread there. Yeah, what else? Hobbies. I always thought music would be my career as opposed to technology, but I had a cousin who was getting into technology back in the early 90s, and these new computers were going to take over the world, right? And so he encouraged me to jump into technology in my post-secondary education, and so I did. So I ended up going the technology route. But I still like to play the guitar and write music and do some stuff that way from time to time.
Wow, I think we should implement John's musical corner in NerdCast. I think that would be a real crowd pleaser.
It'd be a crowd something. Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. 100%.
Good. Thanks, John.
Welcome.
We want to get to know you as the public, and we want to interact with you. So to that end, we've implemented a skill testing question, and we've named it, "Are you smarter than a nerd in 5th grade?" So we have a question for you, and if you join our YouTube chat room, chat with us about what we're discussing. Chat with us about what you're thinking, about your opinions about what we're talking about. But we would like for you to do your best to answer our skill testing question, and whoever answers it correctly first in our chat room will receive our prize, made possible by our esteemed sponsor, DNS Thingy. So we're going to talk about the prize later, but it's really an epic prize. You're going to want to stick around for it, and you're going to want to answer this question. John, why don't you blast us with the awesome skill testing question you have for us today? Listen closely, because you're going to want to answer this for our prize.
Sure. Well, anybody that types on a keyboard is probably familiar with the QWERTY keyboard layout. We call it, QWERTY, QWERTY, because that's the, the top row, that's the order that those are in. So it's referred to as the QWERTY keyboard. So the question is, why do we have the QWERTY keyboard? Why are the keys laid out in such a manner? And this is what we all use. There's a reason why they're laid out this way. They didn't used to be laid out this way.
Very good question. Yes, that's a very good question. Some of you may know it. Some of you may have to go on a hunt for the answer. But whoever answers the question correctly first on our chat room gets the prize. And it's no trifle. So
it relates back to the typewriter to keep the arms from jamming. So this. And rather than being alphabetical order, QWERTY keyboard is designed specifically so that it doesn't jam on a typewriter.
Is Brad allowed to answer out loud, Becky?
Oh, I'm not allowed.
Not allowed. Not allowed.
Oh, I thought it was for us. I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay. That's okay.
That is a really good hint, though, Brad. But there still is a
great
reason.
hint.
There still is the reason which you didn't actually touch on.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah, you gave
Why
us.
did they used to jam and now they don't with the QWERTY keyboard?
Yeah.
So it turns out, folks, that on the very first episode of NerdCast, #1, that you have made your life easy. We have made your life easy by giving you a very good hint through Brad. So thank you, Brad.
Oh,
Thank you,
happy to
Brad.
help.
Yeah. Yes. Great. So we're still looking at our chat room. If you've got an answer for us, let us know. We're going to move on. We have some great topics for you today. The first topic we're going to talk about is the FCC and net neutrality. Who wants to start us off with that? David, do you have some opening comments about that?
I do have some opening comments. I think this is a very real issue. And I don't know if you have that tab open, Arthur, if you can show it real quick. But there's the FCC's plan to potentially cancel net neutrality, which basically means that the pathways to the internet will not be required by law to be equal access to everyone, right? And there's a lot of confusion about what that might mean. But since many of us are from Canada, and that's where we broadcast this show from, one of the questions we had was, well, how would this impact Canada? Since we have no possible participation in the outcome to begin with, we do actually are going to be participating in the outcome by way of an impact, meaning that the costs of services will go up because so many of the services that we do consume, including Netflix, are actually US based. So the political decisions in the United States will absolutely impact us, as far as I understand it. But I'd love some dialogues and thoughts from folks.
So yeah, I just shared the screen here, the article that you're talking about. Now, when it comes to Canada, and maybe Francois can talk about how it is in South Africa, there's no such thing as net neutrality out here, right? All the players throttle or even TELUS even blocks websites. I was just looking it up a little bit. Bell, Eastlink, which is my ISP, Shaw, they all throttled different protocols. And even smaller ISPs like Start.ca, which is a great ISP based here in our local area. And even they are affected by Bell throttling at the last mile, right? So it's not something you can really get away with. Like even let's say that Canada had complete net neutrality, and the guys up north, they were throttling the connections. That still affects us, like you said, for cost-wise, but even performance. If we're accessing a web service in the US, the pipes still go through there, right? And sometimes even if you access a server here in Canada, your traffic is routed through a POP in the US and then back into a Canadian data center. So you can never get away with it. And
I think they call it soda. They don't call it POP in the US. They call it soda.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sorry. My bad. My opinion, I think David agrees with me on this, is that ISP, like internet ISPs, should really be utilities, right? So we should be paying by usage. There should not be any such thing as unlimited bandwidth caps. It should be by usage, just like it is with gas and electricity. and it should be a dumb pipe. That's that's my opinion.
It's a very unpopular opinion, but Becky did encourage us to be controversial. So since you and I already agree on that topic, we'll have to invite someone else to disagree with us on that.
Well, now I'm scared to open up my mouth in case, I'm not aware of what's going on. But yeah,
we should mention that Brad is from another country too. He's from
that's
Melbourne.
right. That's right. When it comes to ISPs, the reason why a lot of these problems occur is because they're not listed as common carriers, and they hold a monopoly on the market, and they're actually not in competition with each other. They're colluding together to ensure that the services that they're offering are standardized across the telecommunication realm and not necessarily to the advantage of the consumer.
I would love to have, I don't know if we have you, Francois, but I'd love to have you share some of the South African experience with this notion of uncapped bandwidth has, in our brief internet history, has rarely been a reality. So you've actually been, in a way, experienced a completely different point of view on this. But I know we're pretty close to running out of time, but I'd still love your thoughts if you have any. Those milliseconds to South Africa add up really, really fast. I'm sorry, folks.
I'm sorry, David. I seem to be having an extremely bad lag at the moment.
No problem. We'll try again next time. I'm so glad you joined us.
I think
right?
best continue.
Years ago, we never even dreamed of this being possible, of connecting the great nation of South Africa to us live like this. I'm just glad that we have you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you, Francois. We're going to move on to our next topic. Big money. We're going to talk big money. The $500 billion company most of us have never heard of. And what company is that? $500 billion.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? This is a company. When I told my wife, she says, "Who's that?" A company called Tencent, out of China, is now the world's 5th largest company, based on the market capitalization of $500 billion. It's just insane, and I'm fascinated by on so many fronts by this reality. But I've already shared my thoughts. I'd love to know what the team is thinking about. Like, where are your thoughts at? Why have we never heard of them? Not we, but in general, why is the Western population not aware, and why would they be valued so much?
Well, we've heard of some of the apps that they build, right? For example, WeChat. I think we've all heard of WeChat. But I know my thoughts that I collected based on the story is just that I think social advertising is really where it's at. Like, a lot of people get annoyed when you go search for something on Google and then you visit a website and you can see ads for what you searched for. That doesn't help you anything. That's just annoying, right? And so one advantage that social ads have is that they can provide ads that are actually interesting. Like, for myself, I like to see ads that are new, that I haven't seen before, and that are interesting to me. And that's the best place I found that is at Twitter, believe it or not. But if they're doing a great job of that, that's cool.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have a hard time being controversial with Arthur, Becky. So I'm gonna try really hard. But the reality is that I do agree that Twitter's advertising is extremely relevant to me. I do look at those sponsored ads, but what I found super interesting is how they are laser focused as the company, as Tencent, in making sure that those are relevant rather than just whatever ads end up being displayed. And anybody who knows me, I'm completely against this idea of third-party advertising, whereas what social advertising is first-party, right? They're serving the ad as opposed to it being put on a blog through some kind of third-party ad network system, right? So it makes sense that that's where the money is. Like we've all known or worked for or worked with a client or with a company who needs to get the word out, and advertising is certainly a method. So I'm completely in agreement with that.
Does anyone else want to weigh in? Anybody have something to contribute before we move on?
I like to always have one more thought here. So the reason, one of the key reasons why Tencent is so big is because of China having a preference or a filtering system. The Great Firewall of China has made it really, really difficult for foreign companies to come into the country. And that is, we should admit that that is one of the key reasons why local companies in China actually have an opportunity to stand on their own 2 feet, right, and become the dominant player. I'm not saying it's all bad, but that certainly contributed to a Facebook competitor being even bigger.
Okay, good. All right. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I am online visiting different sites, I get a little worried, paranoid that I'm being watched by these sites and that someone's collecting data on me. So are sites really watching us? Are they watching every move we make? Is it real, or is it just us being paranoid? What do you guys think?
It's absolutely real because I do it. I watch you. If you go to one of my websites, I watch you very carefully.
Okay. Well, there you have it.
Well, I'll actually chime in here from the perspective of David. Maybe you could share a little bit of the technical side of how Steve Gibson watches people in a positive way when you go to the Gibson Research Corporation website. I would like to try to explain it, but I know you'll do a much better job. But I see that as the positive way of how a website watches people for unique identifiers, as opposed to the frightening way.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good way to balance this otherwise negative news, right, Blair? Because yeah, Steve Gibson did talk about how he utilizes this notion where JavaScript in a browser. So when you visit a website, it's JavaScript that in your browser runs. And what these companies have been doing is they've been logging what you've been keying into a form so that they can capture information even if you change your mind and don't submit it. But what Blair is referring to is that it's a technology in and of itself that can also be used for good. And the way Steve Gibson uses that is he has this perfect password, grc.com/passwords, where you can create a random password for yourself. Pick whether you want uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and how many characters, and you have really, really good entropy, really good randomness, and so it makes that a very good password. And it's what I do if I pick a new password for a new website. I go to his website and I pick one, or I use my password generator, which does the same idea. So yes, there are positive aspects of this piece of technology. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, I think that this article just highlights a bad implementation because tracking users like this is something that pretty much everybody does. I do it to be able to send abandoned cart emails, right? I want to be able to determine if a user didn't complete a checkout and send them an email saying, hey, this is what you started ordering. Why didn't you finish? And maybe even offer a coupon. Say, if you complete it, here's a coupon. Stuff like that. It's very useful, but also for generating heat maps, seeing where users tend to gravitate towards on your website, seeing where they get stuck, and being able to replay sessions. Like all this is very helpful for somebody that's developing a dashboard or a website, anything that's functional. And I think that they were talking about stuff that wasn't running over HTTPS and just really bad implementations of it that might actually have been a privacy issue. But I don't see a problem with it overall. I think the problem is that marketing companies tend to do a really bad job at implementing the technology stack, and we just need a better job.
Well, and I know Becky says to wrap up, so we'll just keep going
Yeah.
here for a minute. So, but they were talking about doing actual screen recording, right? Like, and then playing it back, like capturing it and playing it back later, and looking for, like actual scroll speed and hesitations and mouse clicks, and then some of it where they would take steps to hide privacy, like credit card numbers, names, number. But some of them were just completely open, and now these screen recordings are out there. Like I know there's different levels of data capture, but just record like actual screen capturing an entire session. And I'm paranoid of the fact that, even when you're reading websites now and you're scrolling down, at some point, I think they're going to hack my camera and watch my eyeballs and figure out which which screen I'm on and where I'm actually staring. And, like it's at what point does this data capture, big data kind of stop, right? Because they could use information like that to see where you're glancing and what you're reading and skipping and,
That's already been done, John.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just don't get an iPhone 10 or
I have
Face ID.
3 of them. Okay.
Okay. Wow. That's some good information. Goodness. We got to move on. We've got some tips. We're going to have some really short tips. Arthur, you're going to share a tip with us, and some of you might not, like me. You're not a techie, and you don't know much about the world of computers and tech. So I need a tip. I just need all the help I can get. So Arthur, what's a short little tip you can give us today?
Sure. Are you saying that I talk too much? Okay. So here's my tip. You see on the screen, I'm sharing a link to, or the screen of Remember. If you're concerned about puns, don't go there and don't install it. But if you're not scared about puns, it's a really cool password manager. If you want an alternative to LastPass, or if you just want a really simple password manager, it's secure, trust no one, everything's encrypted. Locally, you don't need to worry about someone stealing your information, and it's it's friendly, it's nice to use, and it's pretty secure. So I would put that out as my tip. Hopefully that's short enough for you.
Excellent, thanks.
That's a good one, Arthur. Very good.
Yeah. Okay. I had asked Francois to do another tip. I don't know, Francois, are we on real time right now with you? Can we hear you?
I can try, Becky.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to talk about the different password managers and so on that Arthur mentioned now, but I think there's a lot to say about that as well. But maybe just a very short tip that I've had with some of my clients before was where their computer screen is rotated either completely upside down or through 90 degrees, and it would really be impossible for them to do any work. Now, in the old days, and on most PCs, you just had to press Control-Alt and the right or left arrow button or up and down button to rotate the screen. That seems to have changed a bit as well, and you can right-click on anywhere on your screen on a PC, not on a Mac, and go down to Display Settings and look for the landscape setting and to rotate your screen back. I don't know if the other people online now can maybe expand on how that would work on a Mac, if it was even possible on a Mac.
On a Mac, we have a simpler method. What we do is we pick up the screen and then we turn it like this. That's how we do it. It's actually faster.
Okay. All right.
Oh man, I almost became John there, except then I laughed.
You actually showed some emotion. That's right. Good. Okay. Thanks, Francois. Our sponsor for this episode is DNS Thingy. And we're very pleased to have them on board as a sponsor of NerdCast. Our prize this week is a router from DNS Thingy. Arthur, can you tell us in about 23 seconds about our prize today, our giveaway, DNS Thingy router? Go ahead.
Looks really cool. That's a really nice router, actually, by the way. And Becky obviously thinks I go too long, so 23 seconds. Okay, so DNS Thingy gives you the freedom to shape the internet the way you want to be. That's a really short description. The way it does that, So you create different rule sets that apply to your kids. Say during school hours, they can only do this and that. YouTube restrictions, enforcing Google Safe Search, ad blocking to make the internet fast and quick for your family and also for businesses. That's the hopefully 23 seconds.
Yes, thank you. Good. So we do have a winner of our skill testing question contest, and he's going to be announced after our joke of the day. And very quickly, we have a joke of the day segment in NerdCast because everyone likes to laugh. Everyone needs to do that once in a while, and I have been voted the one to do the joke of the day. So here it comes, and get ready to laugh, even if you don't think it's funny. And this is my best joke, so get ready. One fine day, a captain of a ship was strolling the deck of his sailboat ship, and he was looking over the wide expanse of the ocean, and in the distance he sees he sees a sail ship coming toward him full speed. And he takes out his glass and he sees it's a pirate ship. Oh no, what am I going to do? Okay, all right, men, we're going to gear up for a battle with these pirates. First mate, get me my red shirt. And his first mate says, red shirt? Why does he need a red shirt? Captain, why do you need your red shirt? And Captain says, well, if there's a battle and I get injured and I'm bleeding out, I don't want my crew to be alarmed. I want them to fight. I don't want them to be worried for me. So my blood will blend in with my red shirt. Well, sure enough, there's a battle, and sure enough, they win, and the pirate ship sails away, limps away. Well, that's a relief. The next day, he's sailing on the open seas, high adventure, and in the distance, he sees 5 pirate ships sailing full steam ahead. Well, not steam, full speed ahead. And he says, oh my goodness, there's going to be a battle. First mate, men, gear up. First mate, bring me my brown pants.
Exactly.
Next time we'll have to tell Francois to laugh in advance. That way, he's laughing.
That's right.
Yeah. So I would need my brown pants too if I saw 5 pirate ships coming. So
I love it.
That's a joke of the day. All right. So we have a winner. Our winner, the person who answered our skill testing question first on our chat room, is Will Stevens. And Will Stevens answered our question of why was the QWERTY method of keyboard implemented? Why was it invented? And his answer was, I'm pretty sure the reason for the QWERTY system was to separate commonly used keys on typewriters because they were pressed too quickly and it would jam the typewriter. Spaced to slow down the user. And that was the key. The QWERTY method was used to slow down the user so that the typewriter metal arms wouldn't tangle up. Correct, John? Correct.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Correct. Congratulations, Will Stevens.
No help from me.
No help from Brad. No, he just gave like the biggest direction ever. Yes, thank you.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that wraps up our first episode of NerdCast. Thank you so much, friends, for showing up. We're looking forward to many more great discussions, and we hope to see a lot of you back. So thanks so much for coming all the way from Madrid, all the way from South Africa and London, etc.
Alberta.
Alberta, that's right. Yes, thank you,
The
Brad.
country of Alberta.
Yeah. You need a passport to go there. So yes, thank you to DNS Thingy for sponsoring our episode, and we'll see you next week on Tuesday at 1 p.m. as usual. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you all for
Bye-bye.
having us. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.